I've had this place for 3 years, and it's been set up like this basically for yeah, since I moved in. Like it needs a reconfiguration actually, to be honest, because I end up not using the racks. Like I've realised like basically I need to be sitting in the chair for me to use anything, and if I have to get up, then it generally stops me from that. But yeah, it's been set up like this. I mean, I've collected the equipment over the last 15 years or so, and yeah, and I've been through multiple different studios, you know, lugging it around, resetting it up in different configurations, and yeah, but about 3 years in its current form. But I'm hoping in the next year or so I'll be able to kind of do another reconfiguration within this room, but I want to change the way it's set up a bit. I mean, I was a piano player before I ever kind of played synths, and even when I started getting into synths, I didn't know about MIDI. You know, I used to play them, so I think that's it. I also, back when I like, if you're thinking back to like 10 or more years ago when I started doing production, plugins didn't really sound as good as they do now. So like to get some of these sounds, you needed analog gear. So like a lot of the stuff here, like I got for quite cheap basically. Like because I was buying it back in like 2012, 2013. And yeah, so I got it at lucky stage before like prices skyrocketed. But to be honest, now like I use so much software, like the stuff you can do in the box now, like it's at a level that I'm probably going to sell a fair amount of the stuff in here just because I don't use it as much as I used to, basically. A big reason that I might sell some stuff is I love the Moog one and I use it on so much. So that's incredible, you know. I just think it's an absolute beast. It's very posh sounding, so that's the only thing. It doesn't have the edge of other synths, but in terms of a polysynth, like it's hard to beat. The Polyvox, this Russian synth over there, I wouldn't sell that. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I use that all the time. You know, everything in my modular, I absolutely love. I would never get rid of that. The Juno, that was my first synth I ever got. I bought it off a mate for 300 quid about 13 years ago. So I'd never get rid of that. The Selena as well, I got that, you know, off some guy that was shutting down his studio. And even though I don't use it a lot today, it's still like it holds a lot of like emotional value. Um, yeah, I mean, to be honest, a lot of the EQs I could probably get rid of just because plugins, like, yeah, there's so many good plugins now. But yeah, no, those are a few things I would never part with. Well, I mean, this is mainly for performance. I think for years I just had the Instruo R-bar because I used that working with George Fitzgerald, and I wanted to stay away from the modular thing, but I like got that because I didn't know anything else that could do that kind of sampling. And then it laid empty until I decided I wanted to use it for the live set. So essentially what I'm using is a lot of filters, a lot of effects, and I've got a few little drum things that I do use in the studio, but I basically made it for the exact purposes I want. Whereas like a lot of people will, you know, be building up synthesizers with it, which this is not a synth, you know, this is an effects unit basically, you know, and sampler. So I think it's like be specific about what you want. I would probably say rather than start from scratch, building a whole thing, get something like the Moog Matriarch, something that, or the Moog Grandmother, something that's semi-modular, that gives you keys, right? And then build a modular in tandem with that. Because I think the amount of money you would spend just building up oscillator at the time, it's like it takes a while before you've kind of got something quite usable. Whereas if you just start with a semi-modular piece of kit that's got a keyboard, you can kind of get going right away and then augment that with a modular. But that's, I mean, it depends what kind of music you want to make. That would be my approach. So the heart of it is the new push, so basically I'll program it all in Ableton, and then once that's all set and I've run it a few times with the laptop, I'll just load it onto here and unplug the laptop, and yeah, it'll just run standalone, which is great. So I've got the vocals coming out into this Chaos pad, and then I've got the Prophet going into it as well, and then everything is coming over to here in this mixer in the modular. I've then got optical in and out running into the modular, and then so I've got, you know, a kind of everything else channel, you know, 1 and 2 that has like, you know, odd little bits on it, and the Prophet and things like that. And then I have the drums running through this analog filter, and then they're also going into this little mixer here, which I'm basically using as a send to effects. Got the bass again going through a little analog filter here, and then I've got, what's after that, and then the vocals are coming into this mixer. I then got the trumpet just plugs straight into here. It runs into the push where I add just reverb and effects, then goes back into this granular sampler where I can capture live loops of it. Then it goes into a granular reverb, and then it goes into a filter, and then it goes back into the push. And yeah, and it basically allows me, I've also got a modular hat going where I can just, you know, add to the drums in real time. So and then yeah, all the Prophet effects are kind of triggered by the push, so they have like, and the sound changes automatically with what's it, and I forget what the message is, but it's got messages to like change the patch at the right time. So yeah, so basically it's like a lot of like, so I'm either playing this, that's being affected with the push, or I'm affecting vocals here, or then when I'm over here, I'm basically doing filtering and then effect sends, and then or trumpet looping. And then I've also set it up where basically each track will end with a loop, a drum loop, and then it will let me basically trigger the vocals of the next track. So it means that I can play it, I don't have to form the set order. I can go from any track basically, and then any tracks that don't really mix together, what I'll do, like as it's ending on the drum loop, I'll like filter that down, start an evolving pad on here in the key of the next thing, and then I'll start doing a trumpet loop in that key. Then I can bring in the next song, like filter down the trumpet, and then, you know, go from there basically. So it allows me to be completely fluid, and then do the live set like a DJ, because I've done it for years where I have to like program the hour, which is great, but then you just get bored, and then next time you want to change the set, you have to do it all again. So the idea with this setup was to basically treat it like a DJ would and be able to mix between anything in the set. It's not, no, it's absolutely not necessary, and like people can get by their whole careers without knowing it, but I think it depends like what kind of music do you want to make. And what I found with knowing, like coming up through, you know, classical music and jazz and learning all the theory, is that I've been able to develop my music, and there's never been like any limits put in place, because I've come from much more complex art forms, complex in terms of, you know, harmony and rhythmic, you know, ideas and stuff like that, that when I've come into, you know, listening to new things, it hasn't like thrown me. I've gone like, oh, that's a cool thing, like let me kind of pursue that. Whereas I know, like, and a mate of mine, like he used to just make kind of like quite straight ahead house, right, and then got a bit bored of that, and when he wanted to kind of expand that, like, and move beyond, you know, making this kind of quite straight ahead form of music, he started having piano lessons, and that opened up his harmonic, you know, language, and opened up all these other things basically. So I think it just depends really, but a lot of people just get by without knowing it, and that's absolutely fine too.